Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. Well, in addition to the mayoralty by-election that's going on in Mississauga, there's a Ward 5 by-election happening at the same time. The election is on June 10th. And so I thought it would be really interesting to give some of the candidates an opportunity in that Ward 5 by-election to also speak to you. And so I've invited all the candidates, and a few of them have accepted my invitation. One of them is Imran Hasan. Imran, welcome to the show, sir.
Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for having me back.
Thank you. So where is Ward 5, just to orient?
So Ward 5 boundaries on the north of 407. On the west, it's Mavis. On the south, it's Eglinton. And on the east, it's the 427. So that includes Pearson Airport up in Malton area, as well as Britannia Woods, that territory that's down.
So it's a really challenging ward because it includes Malton, which is a lower income area north of Pearson Airport, and then a huge swath of business and industry around Pearson Airport and west of and south of the airport, and then a more well-to-do area in Britannia that's south of the 401. So it's a challenging ward to represent. Why do you think you would be a good representative for Ward 5?
Well, Brian, I'm bringing my ongoing dedication and commitment to community service to the local level of government. I've been the vice president of the board for Eden Food for Change, as well as the chair of Field Crime Stoppers. And the two priorities that I'm hearing when I'm knocking on the doors are, tackling crime and tackling, the affordability issue. And I really believe that, these communities can be served best with someone who can hit the ground running on day one. I'm a business owner for the past 30 years. I've, had the experience of building relationships with stakeholders over that time. I volunteered my time through various different organizations, including the Mississauga Arts Council, as well as the Mississauga Board of Trade, and more recently, Field Crime Stoppers and Eden Food for Change. And I think all of that experience serving the community in those volunteer capacities will allow me to hit the ground running on day one.
I understand the two leading candidates, and I don't know if there's been an actual poll, but the two leading candidates that I understand are very different than you because they're more career politicians. They're very involved in politics. They've been very involved in party politics, and they've worked for the current council and or the prior councillor. How do you compare and how do you persuade people that your business background is as relevant as this long political involvement of some of the career politicians that you're running against?
Well, that's a great question, Brian. And really, it's about building relationships with stakeholders in the community and demonstrating how you can get things done. During my time over the last decade, volunteering with different organizations that we discussed, I've helped lead initiatives that have provided direct and immediate impact for the community. We've organized a fantastic breakfast fundraiser every year that raises awareness and funds for Eden Food for Change. Collectively, we've raised nearly $250,000, and that's just in 6 years, since 2018. And we've got other initiatives that are led through Field Crime Stoppers, like doing something in the form of a car show to help promote road safety, as well as school zone safety, and just generally bringing people together that normally don't come together unless it's a bad situation. So here's a way to bring people together in a positive environment.
I was at the Malton meet and greet with you, I think 10 days ago, and I got the impression that people in Malton felt that they had been neglected. Do you agree with that?
Yes, that sentiment was certainly apparent from my perspective as well, Brian. So on the way in, when I was arriving at the Malton Community Center, I observed, some young people milling around outside and thought nothing of it. Went on into the debate or the discussion, and it was apparent to me that those young people were not in the room. And so when I left at the end of the evening, I bumped into one of the young people, and I said, "Hey, so what are you guys doing out here? Why weren't you inside?" During this discussion, they said we weren't invited. And so it was clear to me that, we've got to do a better job of connecting with the youth and reaching out to them and asking them what's important so that we can incorporate those ideas and make those issues our priorities and start tackling what's important to them. And I think that in itself, Brian, will help, increase voter turnout, because it seems to me there's a lot of voter apathy, not only across the city based on the last general election with a 21.8% turnout, but with the turnout in Mississauga Ward 5 being only 11%.
Only 11% in Ward 5. And understand if that 21% is the average for the whole city, then for youth, it was probably, polls suggest, less than 5%. Why are people so apathetic? Why are they not motivated? Are they happy, or are they just, thinking that municipal politics is not relevant?
Well, I think really what's happened is people have been forgotten about. They've, communities have been neglected. We've got, just people that are carrying on, conducting themselves and their business without including, the people around them. And in this case, we're talking about the youth, and the youth really need to be engaged and asked what's important to them, and listening to what their issues are, so we can make those our priority.
Imran, how would you change that?
Well, listen, I'm ready to get to work on day one. And even before we get to work on day one, I'm planning on doing something very unique in the form of going out into the public, into that space where the youth are, and setting up a little bit of a meet and greet where I'm not standing on the soapbox and talking, but I'm handing the soapbox over to the young people to say, you tell me what's important, and you tell me what keeps you up at night, so that I can take these issues to City Hall and come up with a plan and come back to you and report to you, because as a taxpayer, as a resident, you are effectively my boss, and I want to know what it is I have to do a better job. Right. And I know that there's so many people that are affected by the affordability crisis and the soaring crime that's happening in our communities, and we can certainly all work together to help make this community safer and stronger and more vibrant for our next generation.
Yeah, you mentioned crime. There's something like 7,000 cars that were stolen in Peel last year, 350 or something like that in the last month. You're head of Peel Crime Stoppers, I think. What do you think's gone wrong, and what would you do about it?
So before I answer that question, I just want to highlight that of those statistics you pointed out, did you know that the number of cars stolen in Ward 5 exceeded any other ward in the city by a ratio of 4 to 1? So that is absolutely unacceptable. And I think that what we are experiencing generally is just a lack of that sense of community. And I can attest to you that living in a community that's more connected, where your neighbor, you are keeping an eye on your own property, but also looking after your neighbor's properties, it just makes that community more tight knit. And for those bad actors that are coming in to try and conduct any kind of nefarious activities, they're going to think twice, because they're probably being engaged by someone like you who says, "Hey, pal, how you doing? Can I help you? Are you here to visit Imran because he's not home right now? Are you a friend, a family member?" And those kind of conversations aren't happening in communities where people are living in silos. And what we can do through community initiatives, like I've described, whether it was a car show or a first responders recognition barbecue or something fun and inviting that brings people together, it just creates that sense of community. And I think that's something that's lacking, that we can certainly get to work on day one and not have to affect taxpayers one cent.
One of the other issues that came up at that Malton debate was transit. Do you think Malton is well served? Do you think Britannia is well served with transit?
Well, listen, there's a gap between Malton and Britannia, and I would advocate for building better transit that would connect the community of Malton to Heartland as well as Square One, because we really don't have a lot of choices in Malton when it comes to shopping, from a big box grocery store or a department store. In fact, the Walmart that was there just packed up. I just was in Malton day before yesterday and saw the building be deconstructed, and that's unacceptable. There's no choices for residents that are in that community, and I really think we can do a better job. In my experience of 30 years in business, can certainly help lift up that business community, inspire and motivate businesses to be able to really profile what they do as a product or service, and also be able to bring that level of customer service that's so needed to the local community in Malton.
One of the ironic things that I think we have in Mississauga is our best transit is actually in the more well-to-do areas of Port Credit and Clarkson, getting people to jobs downtown at Bay and King. And some of our worst transit is in the less well-to-do areas. It sounds a little bit, blank backwards.
It certainly is. And as I said, I'd be advocating for better transit connections between Malton, Heartland, and Square One to just help move people better and faster, and also to address the affordability issue, because you're now providing choices for consumers to be able to shop. And if it takes them an hour and 3 connections to get from Malton to Square One or Heartland, they're not going to do it. It's just inconvenient. But if you can have a direct line or a faster connection, I think people are really going to be better served.
I understand that something around 8% of Mississauga residents make use of food banks, and a group by the name of Metamorphosis said that we get $868 million less than the median average of other Canadian urban centers in funding from the provincial government for social services. You've been involved in food banks, eating food for change. What's going on, and what should we do?
Well, look, I think it's very important to build those relationships with all levels of government. And again, my experience working with Eden Food for Change, as well as Peel Crime Stoppers and other organizations, has taught me one thing, and that is, regardless of your political stripe, you need to work with people. You need to collaborate. You need to build bridges of understanding between all communities. And we can't leave it to governments alone to do the job. Any more than we can leave it to first responders alone to make our community safer. We all have a role to play in this. And I think some of the examples that we've talked about and actioned as volunteers to help build resilience in the community, to help bring communities together and to raise awareness and funds and really look after each other is something that we can continue doing. And I know that I can bring that experience working with Eden Food for Change to Malton and work with the different food banks that are there, including SEVA and SIDEM. These are 2 institutions that exist that work very hard to help serve the community. But I feel that we can really work more closely together in collaboration and serve the Malton stakeholders better.
Imran Hasan, thanks so much for joining us. Is there a website that people should go to check you out?
Yes, sir. You can go to my website, imranhasan.ca, and please remember to vote on June 10. We're just days away from that, and I know that people are excited to learn more about the different options that are available to them. So if you're looking for somebody who's going to prioritize safety, someone who's going to tackle crime, somebody who's going to come to work day one with the experience and hit the ground running, then elect Imran Hasan as your next Mississauga Ward 5 councillor.
Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back with some more candidates in just 2 minutes in the Ward 5 by-election happening on June the 10th. Stay with us, everybody.